Welcome to another episode of Unredacted Faith. I'm Reverend Tim Bingham. In this episode, I want to talk about hate. We tend to find countless excuses to hate this and that, directing our hatred at things, companies, and people on a daily basis. There are many good examples of hate that likely come to mind when the word hate is mentioned. A big one that always comes up these days is racism, but I'll focus an entire episode on racism later on. In this episode, I want to focus on the type of hatred that doesn't always start as hatred. Maybe you're in a situation like the one I'm going to describe and don't even realize you've been hateful. Oh, excuse me. But before we get into the story, let's see what a few scriptures have to say about hatred. 1 John chapter 4 verse 20, if anyone says I love God and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love God who he has not seen. That, of course, makes a very good point, and keep in mind, it doesn't mean brother literally. When the Bible in this context mentions brother, it means your fellow person, the human next to you, whether they be male or female. Proverbs chapter 10 verse 12, hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all offenses. Just a bit of food for thought before I tell the story. Now, there's a person I know. As always, let's refer to him as Adam. Adam lives next door to his mother and stepfather, and they constantly find ways to harass him in an effort to make his life difficult. Without going into the personal details that I don't feel like I have the right to talk about and disclose, Adam's mother and stepfather had some marital issues, and in lieu of divorce, it would appear that they just decided to team up and take all of their frustrations out on Adam. Now, of course, Adam has not handled this well and has certainly done his part to respond negatively to their actions, which I'm sure has certainly helped keep the problems going. Now, I know what you're thinking. This story is extremely vague, but the truth is you don't need all the details to understand that this is one of many ways we start out with a dislike or a distaste for someone, and when we don't forgive them as Jesus commands us to do, that distaste festers and becomes hatred. Adam's situation is not unique. While his circumstances may be different from our own, we all have the tendency to respond negatively to negativity. Whether it's a coworker, family member, neighbor, or that nosy homeowners association, Karen, that you catch measuring your grass every Monday morning. While you do not have to repeatedly allow these people to trample on you, you do have to forgive them for the things they do against you. Evidence of this requirement is found throughout the Bible, and in one particular place we find this evidence in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those that trespass against us. That makes it abundantly clear that we have to forgive those that have wronged us. So if you have someone that's doing wrong to you, then keep in mind the old saying, two wrongs don't make a right. Another thing to keep in mind is you can be completely ignoring the person, thinking by just ignoring them and not responding, you're doing no wrong while still hating them without realizing it. Leviticus chapter 19 verses 17 and 18 says, you shall not hate your brother in your heart, but you shall reason frankly with your neighbor, lest you incur sin because of him. You shall not take vengeance or bear grudge against the sons of your own people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. Proverbs chapter 26 verses 24 through 26 tells us, whoever hates disguises himself with his lips and harbors deceit in his heart. When he speaks graciously, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. His hatred covered with deception, his wickedness will be exposed in the assembly. 1 John chapter 2 verse 9 says, whoever says he is in the light and hates his brother is still in darkness. Luke chapter 6 verses 27 and 28 But I say to you, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who abuse you. Remember, the goal as a Christian is to try to be as much like Jesus as you can be. We will all fall short of this goal, but we should still spend every day, every hour trying. And remember that on the cross, even Jesus asked God to forgive those crucifying him. Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. Now, if Jesus would beg forgiveness for those executing him in one of the most horrific ways imaginable, don't you think you can find the courage to forgive the person that called you that nasty word, to forgive the person who purposefully caused you pain and suffering in your life? I want to wrap this up with 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 7. Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Thank you for listening. Have a blessed day. And remember, if you're going to claim to be a Christian, it is your duty to spread God's word to those who need it most. Stay connected and never miss an episode by subscribing to our podcast. Stay updated on all the latest releases and discover what our ministry is doing in the community by visiting and liking our Facebook page. If you feel compelled, you can also make a donation to support our ministry through our Facebook page.